Ah, buenas noches a todos, gracias por estar acá. Si desea servicios de interpretación en español, por favor, marque desde su teléfono al 347-966-4114 e ingrese el número de conferencia 534-686-121 numeral. Le repito, marque desde su teléfono al 347-966-4114 e ingrese el número de conferencia 534-686-121 numeral. Si desea escuchar el audio en español, por favor, marque desde su teléfono a la línea de interpretación en español y recuerde mantener su teléfono y su computadora en silencio. Recuerde además disminuir el volumen de los altavoces de su computadora. Nuevamente, para interpretación en español, llame al 347-966-4114 e ingrese el número de conferencia 534-686-121 numeral. Gracias.
Good evening.
Gracias. Perdón.
Bien pueda.
Buenas tardes o buenas noches para todos. Muchas gracias, Melanie, por ese recordatorio. Gracias, Jaylin, por proporcionarnos la información sobre la interpretación en español. Son 5:35. Yo creo que podemos comenzar con nuestra reunión.
Thank you all. Thank you, Melanie, for the presentation. Thank you, Jailin. It is 5:35. I think we can start with our presentation.
Bueno, entonces, dicho esto, en la pantalla están aún así los servicios de interpretación. ¿Alguien lo puede compartir, por favor?
That being said, as interpretation services is in the screen, can somebody share it, please?
No te escuchamos, Melanie.
We can hear you, Melanie.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Sí, ahora.
Very important
Yes, now.
to announce that there are Spanish interpreters here tonight working on a separate line. We will now explain how interpretation will work. Julieta Amalia Garcia, Benito Quesada, and Yailin Montiel are our interpreters for this evening, and they will now announce instructions in Spanish for attendees who may wish to dial into the Spanish line at this time. Because we will have simultaneous interpretation all throughout this meeting, it is very important that everyone speaks slower than usual to allow the interpreters to keep up. If you are conducting a presentation, please make certain that you pause and allow our interpreters enough time to interpret your presentation. Please do not talk over anyone. Ground rules. Before the meeting starts, we want to remind our panelists to please mute yourself whenever you are not speaking. This is a public meeting and it is being recorded. And so now we'll hand this over to our president, Aide Zainos Flores.
Gracias, Melanie.
Thank you,
Muy
Melanie.
buenas tardes a todos. Bienvenidos sean a nuestra reunión de CIC del Distrito 9. Como siempre, es un gusto tenerlos aquí, padres, algunos coordinadores principales, público en general, y así como los miembros de este consejo y el personal del Distrito 9.
Good afternoon or good evening. Welcome all to the CEC meeting. It's a pleasure for me. Welcome all parents, representative of the for this public hearing.
Esto es un anuncio que anteriormente se ha venido implementando en nuestras reuniones y solo es para recordarles que si ustedes quieren recibir información sobre los próximos meetings, por favor pongan su información en el chat.
If this is something that we are going through in the meetings before, if you want information about this meeting, please put your information in the chat.
o bien está ahí un link que ustedes pueden ingresar para que puedan integrar su información. Y también pues los invitamos a visitar nuestro sitio web del CEC9.
Also, there is a link when you can join if you want to join to this, and also we can invite you to the website of the CEC.
Bueno, entonces vamos a comenzar con nuestra sesión de negocios y por favor le voy a pedir a la señora Jackson, que es la secretaria de nuestro consejo, que me haga el favor de hacer el roll call.
Okay, let's start with our business meeting, and I will ask Ms. Jackson to start with the roll call, please.
Welcome, everybody. I will now do roll call. Ade,
Presente.
Present.
Maribel,
Present.
Aristoteles,
Present.
myself present, Natasha,
Present.
Griselle,
Present.
Evelyn, Evelyn, absent. Rosanna, absent. Rosemary, absent. Naomi, absent. Madam President, we do have quorum, and we have 4 absent and
Muchas
unexcused.
gracias, señora Jackson. Solo antes de continuar, una pregunta, Melanie. ¿Estos miembros que están ausentes enviaron algún mensaje para avisar que no estarían presentes a nuestra reunión?
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. One question, Melanie. Those members which are absent, they send a message saying that they will be absent for this meeting?
Can you hear me?
Ahora.
No, I was not
No.
notified of any excuses, so they are absent and unexcused at this time.
Muchas gracias, Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie.
Bueno, como siguiente punto, usted tiene la agenda para que la puedan ver o inclusive los miembros en su correo electrónico les fue enviada esa agenda para que ustedes pudieran ver los detalles que vamos a tratar en esta reunión.
Well, next point, you guys have the agenda. The agenda was sent by email to all members in order they can see what we are going to talk about in this meeting.
Y como siguiente punto en nuestra agenda va a ser la revisión de las actas de reunión del mes de agosto.
Next point in our agenda will be the review of the acts of or minutes of the meeting of the month of August.
Pero más que revisión es la aprobación, ya que estas actas fueron enviadas con anterioridad a sus correos electrónicos para que la pudieran revisar.
Other than see, review is more to approve because those minutes was sent to your emails in order you can review it.
Dicho esto, entonces vamos a hacer les voy a preguntar si tienen alguna objeción o algo que necesitemos revisar en las actas y si no, vamos a hacer el llamado para aprobar estas actas.
Okay, that being said, I would like to know if there is any objection or review that you want to make to the minutes. If not, we are going to call for the approval.
¿Miembros del consejo tienen algún punto que tratar sobre las actas?
Member of the council, you guys have any point to talk about it, about the minutes?
It's me, Grisel Cardona, no objection.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes for August. I need a second.
I second it.
Gracias, señora Grisel. La señora Jackson hace nuestra moción y la segunda, la señora Aracelis. Adelante entonces, señora Jackson, por favor, vuelva a ser llamado para aprobar las actas.
Thank you, Ms. Giselle. Ms. Jackson, second the motion. Ms. Jackson, please, let's do the roll call in order to proceed with the minute.
Roll call goes as follows. Ade,
Approve.
Maribel,
Approve.
Aracelis,
Approve.
myself approve, Natasha,
Approve.
Grisel.
Approve.
Madam President, everyone approved the minutes. We can move forward.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Una vez aprobadas nuestras actas, seguimos con nuestro siguiente punto, que es revisar nuestra lista o tener la discusión de las visitas de nuestras escuelas.
Okay, once it's approved, our next point is to review the list about the visits to our schools.
Como saben, parte de nuestro trabajo de miembros del consejo es visitar escuelas para ver qué podemos aportarles o apoyarles en sus necesidades.
As you know, our job, a part of our job is visit schools in order we can see what we can do to support it.
En años anteriores hicimos la visita a algunas escuelas, pero ahora por medio de la pandemia no se pudieron hacer muchas visitas. Entonces el procedimiento a seguir, se los voy a comentar, que vamos a dar prioridad a las escuelas que no fueron visitadas anteriormente para posteriormente visitar las que sí se visitaron.
Okay, because the last year was a tough year because of the pandemic. This year we are going to visit those schools that wasn't visited last year, and we will then go to the other schools that was visited previously.
Sabemos que es muy importante mantener una relación con las escuelas, pero para avanzar un poquito en nuestro trabajo, ese va a ser el procedimiento de nuestras visitas, y lo cual nos vamos a apoyar de superintendente para que nos haga el comentario con los principales, de que nos den el acceso a la invitación que se les va a hacer de visitar su escuela.
It's important to us to keep the relation with schools. That's why we are going to ask the superintendent to intervene in order he can facilitate the access to the schools through the principals.
Y a los miembros se les asignó una mezcla de escuelas. Algunos están cerca de sus hogares de los mismos miembros, algunas no, están lejos.
As members have a mix of schools. Some of them have been assigned to schools close to their house. Some of them no.
Pero como les volví a mencionar anteriormente, eso nos va a permitir crear relaciones y que las escuelas conozcan a los miembros y los miembros que conozcamos realmente en las escuelas que pertenecen al distrito.
But as I said before, that will help us to create that relations. Then schools will know the member of the council and we will know the member of the school in the district.
Siguiente punto sería también como dejarles saber que tenemos un town hall en puerta, y eso me da mucho gusto compartirlo con todos ustedes, y ustedes miembros ya lo saben. Tenemos un town hall en puerta y es lo que tenemos que también que tener discusiones sobre cómo se va a llevar a cabo.
Also, for next point, we have upcoming town hall, and that's what we want to talk about, how we will do that.
Y también sin antes dejarles mencionar que tenemos que tomar en cuenta los puntos que se van a tratar en el mes de octubre.
And also keep in mind the point that we are going to talk about in October.
Entonces, señores miembros, les pregunto qué es lo que necesitamos traer de información para el mes de octubre.
Then members, I ask you guys, what is the information that we have to bring for the month of October?
Can you repeat the question?
Sí, Aracelis, estamos tratando de ponernos de acuerdo para qué presentaciones vamos a traer para el mes de octubre.
Yes, Araceli, we have to get to an agreement about what presentations are we going to bring for the month of October.
Okay. La señora Jackson había comentado que le gustaría, y yo estoy de acuerdo, de traer a alguien que tenga que ver con la almuerzo, la cafetería.
Miss Jocelyn says, and I'm agree that she would like to bring somebody to talk about lunch and cafeterias.
Yes, I just would like to elaborate on that. We spoke about bringing somebody from the Division of Food and Nutrition. We get an update on the school foods. We have concerned parents about, we have parents that are concerned about school breakfasts and lunch and how they're served and temperatures and so what. So yes, we would like the recommendation to bring someone from that office to our CZ meeting.
Claro que sí, ese es un punto muy importante, ya que de acuerdo al regreso a la escuela y por todos los protocolos que tienen que seguir, ha cambiado mucho ese aspecto de la hora del lunch, ¿verdad?
Yes, that's a very important point because the access to school and also the new protocols have changed for the way that the lunch is being served.
Also, I submitted some documents for a program they serve in the community for presentation to give kind of information about what's out there to educational for the parents or for whoever is 18 and over. I gave the information on that as well.
Gracias, señora Figueroa.
Thank you, Ms. Figueroa.
¿Algún otro punto? Bueno, sin dejar en mente que tenemos también pendiente la presentación de planificación del Distrito 9.
Any other point? Also, we have pending the planification meeting for the District 9.
¿Consideran que con estos dos puntos estaríamos completos para la agenda o podríamos aumentar alguno más?
What you think is, you think we are complete with these 2 points for the agenda, or you think that we need to add another one?
I think that we're good with these two topics.
Yes, I
¿Los
agree.
demás miembros están de acuerdo?
Yes,
Other members agree?
I
Yes.
agree.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Perfecto. Entonces tendremos estos dos puntos, se trabajarán para el mes de octubre.
Perfect. Then we have those two topics, and we will go working that for the month of October.
Para el siguiente punto tendremos las actualizaciones de los miembros. Sabemos que han ocurrido alrededor muchas reuniones. ¿Alguien de ustedes ha acudido a una reunión y que necesite compartir información importante?
Next, we have the actualization or update of the members. few of you or some of you went to different meetings, something that you can bring to us in order can share with the members?
Take a photo.
Can you please repeat the question? I'm sorry.
¿Puede usted
Photo is más fácil.
Sí, como miembros sabemos que hay muchísimas reuniones que ocurren a nuestro alrededor. Entonces, yo sé que algunos de ustedes acuden a reuniones. Entonces, la pregunta es si ustedes traen alguna información que pudieran ser necesaria compartido aquí con la membresía y con los que nos están acompañando.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's just to know if any of you went to any meeting that you guys can bring here and share with us.
Araceli Cia, I went to a meeting for a special education council. But basically what they were talking about, it was the IEP meetings, and that they don't have nothing in concrete when they're gonna start doing the IEP meetings, if it's gonna be in person or in Zoom, and they will have another meeting to let the parents know. And that's basically, and then they talk about the budget and not too much information for what I thought it was gonna be, but that's basically it. Thank you.
I heard that there was busing issues around the city. Some parents the kids didn't get picked up from school. CCSE was, when I spoke to Paulette Healy, she was working with her members on that. So they created like a little subcommittee on with busing and stuff. So if there's any parents who have any issues and their child is with an IEP and goes on busing, I can send their information over so that they can, further assist. And there was a meeting a while ago that I went to that I had, it was with the Advocates for Children and a few other advocates for special education. They wanted to change the name for emotionally disturbed, which is one of the 13 disabilities that can go on an IEP. They wanted to change that name into something else because parents and other advocates felt that it should be changed into something different. The change may not happen until like maybe 2-3 years down the line, but I know that that is in conversation. But other than that, that's all I know.
And I'd just like to add, the ambassador program, parent leaders and ambassadors were selected all over the city to turnkey information to give a workshop in October in regards to wellness and transitioning. So there are parent leaders and ambassadors that are trained that are going back to their schools after completing 4 trainings and the turnkey that has to be in October. So we just want principals and staff, parents to know that parents are getting sensitivity training and transitioning back into the schools, wellness checks, things that we can help with you at home, and they will be coming in your schools in October.
Gracias, miembros. Yo creo que sí, toda esa información la vamos a poder escuchar un poquito más a fondo de nuestro superintendente en su reporte. Y agradezco de verdad, miembros, que se den su tiempo para acudir a estas reuniones. Y efectivamente, como ustedes lo han comentado, perdón, Benito.
Yes, I think that that's something that our superintendent will bring with the report, and I want to thank all of the members for coming to this meeting.
Y realmente si a este tiempo, si ustedes se han dado cuenta, hay algunos consejos que apenas están conformando sus mesas directivas. Como ustedes saben, yo soy la representante del ILL y yo acudí a su reunión.
I'm really, I noticed that there's a lot of, perdón, ¿usted puede repetir eso por mí, por favor?
Que sabemos que los consejos apenas están conformando sus mesas directivas.
That we know that the councils are just working, building the board.
Entonces, a este tiempo no hay todavía mucha información, pero sí les agradezco su participación porque ellos necesitan saber que el Distrito 9 está aquí, que queremos información, que queremos escuchar y que queremos traer esa información a nuestros padres.
And yes, and I thank because you come and we know that we have to bring that information to the parents.
Y entonces les había comentado que yo asistía, por ser representante de DLL, yo acudí a esta reunión y en la cual me pareció un poco muy atractiva, ya que estaban hablando sobre la diferenciación de lo que es un estudiante transicional a un estudiante dual, de lenguaje dual.
And I went to the RL meeting and was very attractive for me because it was different. They was talking about transitional students and also talking about students. ¿Qué tipo de estudiantes, perdone?
Sí, que hicieron la definición y la diferenciación de un alumno en inglés transicional y el inglés como segundo idioma.
Okay, they make the difference between the student in the transitional situation and another one in the second English as a second language.
E inclusive me pareció tan importante que lo hayan mencionado a este principio de su inicio como consejo, porque es bueno que los padres conozcamos estos términos y que sepamos cuál es la diferenciación, porque a veces estamos confundidos con estos términos.
It's good that they brought that to the beginning because it's good that the parents know what's the differentiation of what is different on between that because sometimes we don't know the difference.
Bueno, entonces vamos a seguir asistiendo a las reuniones de estos consejos y espero que más adelante podamos compartir más información que suceda dentro de estos consejos para los padres, beneficio de los padres.
Let's keep going to those meetings and in the future we will bring more information that can be beneficial for our parents.
Bueno, entonces creo que hemos terminado con nuestra sesión de negocios.
Then I think that
¿O
we
se me está
finish.
pasando algo, señores miembros?
I think we finished with the business part, or I'm missing something, members.
I think we're good. We can move forward.
Entonces, ¿podemos hacer el aplazamiento?
Can we make the delay?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I second it.
Segunda Aracelis, ¿verdad?
Yes.
Second, Araceli, right?
Perfecto. Por
Yes.
favor, entonces,
Time,
sí, señor Guevara, ¿se me está pasando algo?
la hora que
Mr.
se
Gab-
terminó la reunión, the time that the meeting adjourned.
Son las, ¿qué hora dice ahí?
6:02.
Bueno, entonces
Thank you.
es
La se ido.
6:02.
perfecto. Entonces son las 6:02. Hacemos el aplazamiento de nuestra sesión de negocios y damos paso a nuestra sesión de calendario.
Okay, now it's 6:02, and let's join our business session, and let's go to our calendar session.
Nuevamente podríamos mencionar solamente la interpretación, por favor, Melanie o Richard, ¿quién me puede hacer el favor? ¿O algún intérprete? A los que se están uniendo apenas a nuestra sesión.
Once again, Melanie or Richard, can you show the interpretation, or any of the interpreters can do that?
Sure, Madam President. I'll be happy to make an announcement. So good evening, everyone. If you're joining this meeting, there is interpretation at this time in Spanish. If you wish to go ahead and participate in that line, the number is 347-966-4114. The PIN number is 534-686-121 and the pound sign. So now I'll turn it over to the interpreter so they can say it in Spanish. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. The following message is going to be in Spanish. Buenas noches a todos. Gracias por estar acá. Si desea servicios de interpretación en español, por favor, marque desde su teléfono al 347-966-4114 e ingrese el número de conferencia 534-686-121, símbolo numeral. Le repito, para interpretación en español, marque desde su teléfono al 347-966-4114 e ingrese el número de conferencia 534-686-121, numeral. Si desea escuchar el audio en español, pero desea permanecer en esta sala virtual para ver la reunión desde su computadora, por favor recuerde silenciar el micrófono de todos sus dispositivos, disminuir el volumen de los altavoces de su computadora y marcar desde su teléfono a la línea de interpretación en español. Nuevamente, el número es 347-966-4114 e ingrese el número de conferencia 534-686-121, numeral. Gracias. Thank you.
Gracias, Yailin. Bueno, entonces vamos a comenzar con nuestra sesión. Antes de comenzar, señora Jackson, ¿me haría el favor de hacer el llamado al orden?
I will now do roll call.
All right, thank you,
Ade.
Jenny. Thank you.
Presente.
Interpreter, you want to go?
Yes, she was saying thank you, Jailin. Miss Jackson, can you please make the roll call?
Okay. President Ade says she's present. Maribel,
Present.
Aracelis,
Present.
myself present. Natasha,
Present.
Griselle,
I'm present.
Griselle.
I'm present.
Okay. Madam President, we do still have quorum. We can move forward.
Muchísimas gracias, señora Jackson.
You, Miss Jackson.
Bueno, pues como ya les había comentado, pero yo sé que más personas se nos han unido. Sean bienvenidos, padres, personal e invitados que nos acompañan. Y dentro de esos invitados sabemos que nos acompañan representantes de los electos. Sean bienvenidos a esta reunión del CEC del Distrito 9.
As I said, thank you. I know more people join to us now, and I want to welcome parents and other personnel, and also to the elect people from the District 9.
Y como siguiente o primer punto tenemos el informe del señor superintendente Harry Sherman.
And first point will be the report of the superintendent, Larry Sherman.
Good evening, Ide. Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to the members of the CEC for creating the time for me to share. And I just want to welcome all the participants tonight, all the members of the CEC, all the school members, and all the school leaders and school staff that are with us tonight. District 9 is open. We are back. Schools are open. Doors are open. I know that you have a lot of questions. I know that you have a lot of concerns and anxiety. And as I promised earlier today, we will address all of those to the best of our capacity. But before any of that, I just want to thank everyone for the trust that you've put in us to send your children back to school, and knowing what an incredibly long 18 months it has been. We know that this pandemic, we are still fighting. We know that we have been through a lot. We have all experienced trauma, some more than others. We've all experienced loss, some more than others. And that unites us, but it also exposes the inequities in our system, the inequities in our society, and the challenges that we face. And so while we are brought together by the challenges of this pandemic, and while we are brought together by the work that we have to do to overcome this, we also know that there are those among us that require more support, that require now more than ever our understanding, our compassion, and our patience. And so I call on all of us. I call on the principals as the leaders of our schools. I call on the parent leaders as the representatives of our communities. I call on the staff, on the children, on all the members of our learning community to really come from a stance of compassion and of understanding and of a commitment that we are together going to do whatever it takes to give our children the school year that they deserve. And I ask for all of us to remember, as we center parent voice, as we lean in on the needs of our community, as we try to be understanding of all the many different perspectives that make up our district, for us all to constantly remember that this work is about our children, and that this work is about, at the end of the day, providing the best instruction, the most equitable instruction, and the most rigorous instruction for our children, because we know that they are capable. We know that even though over the past year and a half, they have not had the typical experience, the typical experience has failed our children in many respects. And so this is also an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to learn, for us to reflect, and for us to not go back to business as usual. This is a huge year in front of us. We have such opportunity to disrupt systems, to reimagine what school can be. We have such opportunity to take advantage of the resources that have been given to us and to go into a new space of creativity, of thinking about ways to reach kids that we haven't reached before. We have such opportunity, but it's only going to happen if we work together. And it's only going to happen if we are collectively committed to what is best for children. And if we always recognize that that is what brings us together in this work and in this space. I'm so grateful for the partnership with the CEC in District 9, for their commitment to equity, for their commitment to what is best for our children, and for their willingness to come to the table as partners and work with our school leaders. And I am so tremendously grateful for the school leadership that we have in District 9. We have incredible school leaders, many of whom are with us tonight, who have been flexible, who have been creative, who have been imaginative, who have been resourceful, who have been tremendous leaders over an incredibly hard time. And we are not out of it, as I said before, but maybe we're seeing the light. We're back in school, and it is just an exciting time. And I'm going to share my screen and go into this presentation and start with, as I said, schools are open. We welcome back our students for the first time in over 18 months. On Monday, September 13th, our principals, our staff, our students and families have done great work to get us back to learning. And our district team is working night and day to address all the challenges that our schools and our families are facing. And this is not an exhaustive list, but I want to let you know that morning tonight, we're addressing challenges with facility, with staffing, health and safety, busing, family supports, IEP needs. We did, I know that there were concerns about food service, nursing. We have been working with every department in the Department of Education, sanitation, facilities, to navigate all the challenges. And so much has come out. Definitely There is a need to hold accountable the systems that serve our children, to disrupt the neglect and the inequities that we see. And yet I also want to just lift up that so many of us have done incredible work. We have Chris Caifa with us tonight, who will share later about facilities and support. And he has just been a great partner in trying to get our schools and our school buildings moving. And so I look forward to hearing from him as well. So as kids are coming back to school, the number one job is to get all of our kids back to school. Right now, our attendance rate for the year is 82.6%. That is 6 days in. And so obviously that's not where we want to be. We want to be above 90%, but we are creeping up. The attendance rate yesterday was 83.6%. We're waiting to see where we were today. And there's a lot of work to do there. We're still cleaning up registers, for example. So students who may not be returning to New York City schools, they may be out of state, out of the country, in a different part of the state, in a different district. We're still getting those registers cleaned up. And what we are seeing is that most of our kids are coming back. We have some no-shows, but most of our kids are coming back. We're also getting our kids and families back in the routine and the expectation to be back. And so while on one hand, we have really high expectations, we are working with our schools with the greatest challenges. We're working with our attendance team. On the other hand, we have to be compassionate and patient and know that this is a lift for a lot of families. They're figuring out childcare, they're figuring out transportation, they are just processing what it means to put their kids back in school. They're processing their fears and their concerns around health and safety, which we will talk about coming up. And so I'm going to share some health and safety policy updates directly from the Department of Education. And then, as I promised this morning when we were talking about our equity plan for the district, we will make all the time that we need to make to address any of the questions that you have around health and safety and the work that we are doing. I would remind you as we go through this, that this is city policy. This policy is not set at the District 9 level. This policy is set at the central level. And so certainly when we have our town hall with the chancellor next month, it's an opportunity to also talk about health and safety. But I want to tell you that I believe deeply in this work that we are doing. We are in these buildings as well. It is our own health and safety that is also what this work is about, right? So we have families, when I say we, I mean the staff, the school personnel, the district personnel. We are coming into these buildings. Our own children are attending these schools. We are coming home to our own families. And so we all collectively have to be invested in the health and safety policies. We all collectively have to understand that it is best for our children to be in school, that our children learn better in school, they have better mental health when they are in school, they have better relationships and development when they are in school, and that the challenges around health and safety, when mitigated, are extremely low. So here are some of the policies and procedures that we are taking as a city to make sure that all of our children are safe. So starting on Monday, September 27th, we will increase random COVID testing in all schools. Grades 1 to 12 will go from every other week to every week for COVID-19 testing. Now, the DOE can only test students whose parents have provided an updated testing consent form. So we encourage every single family to please consent to testing so that we can effectively monitor the infection rate in schools by being able to test a representative sample. Parents and caregivers, please give your consent, reach out to your school and get that form. You can also do it online on your NYCHA account, or you can download the form and turn that in. Now, this is an important update. On one hand, we want to be as cautious as possible, but on the other hand, if we are overcautious, we are not giving our kids opportunity for in-person learning. And so starting on Monday, following the guidance of the CDC, the city is going to no longer close an entire classroom when there is a positive case. So unvaccinated students who are masked and at least 3 foot distance from a student who tests positive are not close contacts under the CDC guideline. And what this ultimately means is we're not going to have a whole classroom closure just because one student in the class tests positive. If the teacher can verify that students are distancing appropriately, that students are masking, then only those students who test positive will quarantine. This applies to all students in any grade. We will close the school only when the Department of Health sees that there is widespread transmission in the school. With these health and safety measures in place, we expect that school closures and classroom closures will be limited. As we also are, as our chancellor likes to say, wrapping a bubble of protection around our children by ensuring that every adult in New York City schools will be vaccinated against COVID-19 by September 27th. All employees will have received at least 1 dose of the vaccine. That is the mandate for all employees as of September 27th. I know there's a lot of wondering about whether or not this court injunction is going to change that. The court injunction is really specific to the DOE has to provide a religious and health exception for specific cases for employees, but that does not mean that they continue to serve in schools. If somebody gets that exemption, what it means is they serve remotely in some administrative capacity, and so schools will only have vaccinated adults in our doors as of September 27th. So you can use vaccinefinder.nyc.gov if you are a parent or a staff member or a student 12 or over to ensure that you get vaccinated. The vaccine mandate applies to all high-risk after-school extracurricular activities like chorus, musical theater, dance, band, cheerleading, etc. So children 12 and older have to be vaccinated in order to participate in these activities. And as we know, we'll get to the visitor policy in a minute. So many school leaders and families have asked about field trips. Schools may plan to take local field trips to settings where students would not be likely to come in contact with people outside of the school's student and staff population. This really limits, obviously, what those field trips can be. Permitted trips include walks around the neighborhood, visits to local parks, visits to local cultural institutions, under the conditions that those students and staff stay in set groups, and every effort is made to keep them away from the general public. For transportation, cannot go on public, they are discouraged from going on public transportation, which I would say don't do it. And yellow buses are not available, so for transportation, schools can get charter buses. Out of town school trips and overnight trips continue to not be permitted. And as you may be aware, the school visitor policy states that all visitors age 12 and up must show proof of vaccination. And you can see the proofs that are acceptable: the vaccination card, vaccination record, the app, the Excelsior Pass, the vaccine portal. The only exception to this is families who are registering their children, or families who need to enter the building in case of an emergency. An emergency is not, I forgot to give my child their lunch, or I really need to talk to the teacher, or I need to drop something off, or I need to pick something up. That can be done from outside the school. We can have a staff member help. Emergency is a child in crisis. The child is in crisis, parent can enter the building without showing proof of vaccination. Otherwise, anyone coming to the school building must show vaccination. Now, I want people to understand at this point that there are members of the community who feel very strongly for this policy, and there are members of the community who feel very strongly against this policy. We need to understand it is the DOE policy, and it is in place to protect our children. So whatever stance is, whatever personal opinions, beliefs, concerns in one direction or the other, This is city policy, and this policy is in place to create a safe place for our children. Health screenings continue to be in place. Every student and staff must complete the health screening before entering the building. That means that we can confirm that if you are experiencing any COVID-19 symptoms, or if you have recently tested positive, that you cannot enter the building. If you need a thermometer or check for fever, you can request from the school. Thermometer checks are no longer a requirement for schools to administer. They're something that families are encouraged to do at home when completing the screening. And that gets our kids into school faster. But if you need a thermometer, you can ask for one and the school will provide it. If you are feeling ill, if your child is feeling ill, please do not enter the school. School staff are always available to help with the completion of the screener. If you can't complete it at home, we can support at the school. If you can't do a thermometer or check at home, we can do that at the school. But to expedite things, we encourage you to do that home whenever possible. And as you know, we will continue to have the mandate for face coverings and PPE. So that means that all students and staff must wear a face covering whenever on a bus, whenever on school property, indoors or outdoors, regardless of vaccination status, unless they have a medical exemption. A medical exemption is really specific to a child who can't tolerate a mask. During lunchtime, masks may be removed for eating comfortably at a safe distance. That may be in the classroom, that may be in the lunchroom, and that is considered to be 3 feet. Students who are not able to tolerate masks can be provided alternative accommodations, and again, that requires medical exemption. We have PPE at every school: masks, soap, paper towels, hand sanitizers, wipes. We continue to disinfect every classroom, every common space frequently, and high-touch areas such as doorknobs, water fountains, etc., are cleaned frequently throughout the day. And again, physical distancing is extremely important. So students and staff should be maintaining 3 feet of distance to reduce transmission. When it's not possible to maintain a physical distance of 3 feet, then it's important that we have all those other layers, such as screening, testing, vaccination, masking, etc. Wherever possible, elementary schools will keep groups of students consistently together and have teachers move to minimize movement and exposure of students, and to exclude students from exposure. But we have to keep in mind that the CDC has emphasized the importance of keeping students in school versus the importance of that minimum distance. And so what that basically means is, if the only way we can get kids in school is to tighten up that distance a little, it is better to have kids in school than it is to say, well, we don't have enough room for our kids. I can also tell you that across our district, I went through every single school, every single classroom, every single principal, reviewing the numbers, reviewing the distancing, and our principals have gone to every length to make sure that kids are able to physically distance. During meal service, we are also using outdoor spaces, spaces in buildings such as classrooms, atriums, entryways, whatever we need to create space for students to be able to eat with good physical distancing. And meals may be served in multiple locations and during multiple time periods. I know there are some concerns around meal service, specifically what meals are available to children. And here is one of those places where we have to balance the ideal against the safety and the reality for our children. So if the only way that a school can create the distancing that they need to create for children is to have our kids have food brought up to them, that may mean that our kids do not get the full menu that would be available if they were able to go into the lunchroom. But some of our schools have big, expansive lunchrooms and outside spaces and all these options. And other schools, they have very small lunchrooms and very large groups of children that need to be able to eat. And it isn't a viable option for kids to go into the cafeteria. We have regulations that do not allow us to transport hot food. That has to do with health and safety of the staff members as well as the children, and our ability to supervise and ensure that the hot food that we're serving is being done in a safe way. And so what this means is if kids are getting lunch and getting meals in the classroom to accommodate distancing, that they're unfortunately those options end up being limited. But this is also a conversation to have when we invite in school foods to talk about what those options might be. So I'm going to share a couple of things that I shared in August, but I know that we didn't have the full participation in August. And so as promised then, I wanted to hit on a couple of things again with a more representative group from our schools and from the CEC. And so we are centering SEL and mental health as a priority in our equity plan that we developed in the spring. As our kids and our families are coming back, it is so important, as I was discussing before, that we recognize that we've all experienced trauma, we've all experienced loss, but some have experienced more than others, and that is real, and we have to have that front and center. That as we get back into the flow of learning, we have to recognize that our kids and our adults, our parents, our staff may be carrying around heavy things, and that means we need trauma-informed and research-based programs as a requirement in every school. And so we have provided all kinds of resources and opportunities to our school leaders to ensure that SEL, social and emotional learning, is centered every day. We have increased access to funded social workers. There are still a need for more social workers in our district, but we have made progress in this area. We have our healing-centered schools, which was being spoken about in the business meeting. Every school has a parent ambassador for healing-centered schools to support that work. And we have a partnership with Yale to implement Ruler, which is a social emotional program that allows us to give language to students and staff to really identify where they are socially and emotionally, and to create space to process that in a healthy way instead of an unhealthy way in our classrooms. We have 7 schools that are receiving that training and that support for free, and then it's available to every other school for $10,000, which is in the grand scheme of a school's budget, a very worthwhile investment. And that cohort of schools, those 7 schools, they will serve as sort of a model for our other schools to make sure that we have strong programs in place. I'm not going to go deep into our equity work because we did that this morning, and I think most of us were there for that. So just briefly, we have priorities from the city sorry. So our city priorities, which dovetail with our equity priorities, are that we develop and strengthen welcoming and affirming schools, that we have high expectations and rigorous instruction for every student, that we implement inclusive curriculum and assessment, and we have time for ongoing professional learning. Our borough goals are to increase our high school graduation rate by focusing on credit accumulation in the 9th grade, to reduce students at level 1 and increase students at level 3 and 4 by 10%, to reduce chronic absenteeism, and to ensure that equity undergirds all of our work across all of our teams and priorities, and to ensure SEL for every child. And so what this looks like in District 9, our district CEP goals, 70% of all students, including every subgroup, meaning every racial subgroup, every student subgroup, special needs, ESL, et cetera, 70% of them will meet a growth target in ELA and math. We focused on growth rather than performance to show that we are meeting kids where they are at, but making sure that every child makes progress. We have a goal to reduce chronic absenteeism to 30%, same as the borough, and to reduce a relative risk ratio for suspensions of our Black students and our students with disabilities. What that last one means is that we are making sure that we are not seeing one group of students suspended at a higher rate. That reflects something wrong with our approach. And so we closely monitor that and ensure that we are addressing that disproportionality. On a bigger level, some of the things we're working on in our district this year is to rebrand our district with a new mission and vision that really reflects and represents where we are as a community right now, what we have been through, and what we are looking ahead to. Enrichment opportunities for every child. Some of the things in place right now are chess in schools, debate club for every school, and a push to have Regents available, Regents instruction available to every middle school. We have a focus of getting every child to read at grade level and to ensure that families of all cultures, languages, and religions are equal partners in our school, and that we do the work on our side to ensure that access. And then our equity plan, which this I'm not going to get into because we spent a lot of time on this morning, only to say that we have these focus areas and parents will be partners in this work. Schools will work with families to ensure that we are centering the area that is reflective of the will of the community, and that that work is being done in partnership with all stakeholder voices, families, children, staff, school leadership, working together to disrupt the inequities that face our community. And lastly, I just want to lift up some of the powerful partnerships that are guiding our work. So we have a partnership with Teaching Lab. We got a $600,000 grant to support early childhood literacy and middle school math. I mentioned before the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence for Ruler. We have a partnership with Dr. Goli Mohammed and Hill Pedagogies to develop curriculum that reflect the identities and experiences and capabilities of our children. And we have a partnership that is in the works with the Delphi and New York Edge to bring college and career readiness programs into every sixth grade classroom. And I, again, want to end with where I started, that we are a tremendous group of school leaders, of students, of teachers, of families, and we are going to be successful with our children this year because we work together, because no matter what we do, we center the needs of our children, the need for disrupting the inequities that have faced our district in order to see the success of every child, regardless of race, regardless of disability, regardless of language. We are going to see all of our children be successful by working together. And so, can't remember, do we, well, CEC, do we want to take questions from me now or at the end? Either way, thank you again for giving me the time to address the CEC.
Muchas gracias, superintendente, por toda la información tan necesaria y valiosa que está compartiendo con nosotros.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Thank you for the valuable information that you are sharing with us.
Pero si nos hace el favor, vamos a continuar con nuestros puntos en la agenda y hay una sesión donde podemos hacer nuestras preguntas y comentarios de los públicos.
But please, let's continue with our agenda, and then we will be answering questions.
Si no hay ningún inconveniente con usted, por favor, gracias.
If there is not any inconvenience with you, please, thank you.
Of course, I'm here for the whatever you need.
Gracias, superintendente. Bueno, entonces, como nuestro siguiente punto en la agenda, tenemos un invitado, el señor Christopher Caifa, es subdirector de instalaciones. Por favor, está aquí presente, lo escuchamos.
Okay, our next point is Mr. Christopher Caifa. Caifa is our Deputy Director of Edifications.
Yo lo estoy viendo, pero creo que está en mute, señor Christopher.
I think Mr. Christopher, are you mute?
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Gracias, sí.
Yes, we can, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for having me tonight. While I was in the process of unmuting myself, was there any questions you had for me?
Más bien usted nos podría hablar un poco de cómo están siendo los protocolos dentro de las escuelas para tranquilizar un poco a los padres.
Benita,
Benito, estás mute.
Benita, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Can you please tell us about the protocol inside schools?
The cleaning protocols?
Sí, por favor.
Yes, please.
Okay, so our cleaning protocols are fairly simple. In fact, the superintendent had mentioned part of it. So if you know that our schools actually have been open for quite a while, all summer they were open for summer school, and even before that, they were open for rec centers for children who were not able to stay home during COVID days. So our protocols are given to us by Department of Health and the CDC. We do not make this up. So we go through the school during the day. We have staff who go through the school cleaning and disinfecting all our touch points, okay, which include doorknobs, door pulls, stairwell rails, light switches, faucet handles, drinking fountains. These are constantly during the day being disinfected by our staff. When everyone leaves the building every night, the building is disinfected with an electrostatic backpack sprayer. This is a disinfectant that is sprayed on all areas, the desks, the chairs, touch points like doorknobs in the classrooms, also areas where the teacher would be touching, the desk, the blackboard, or we use whiteboards now. It is also used in all office space for our office staff as well, not just in classrooms. So basically, the whole building, including bathrooms, is sprayed and disinfected every night. I believe that if I didn't answer anything, could you just let me know?
Perfecto. No, pues en este momento entonces sí es el comentario que nos está compartiendo.
Thank you, perfect. That's the comment that you are sharing with us at this time.
Seguimos entonces con nuestros puntos en la agenda y si algún padre tiene alguna pregunta con respecto a esto, en su momento se la hará llegar.
Let's keep with the next point in the agenda. And if any parents have any question about this, we will let them know at the time.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Como siguiente punto, entonces tenemos los anuncios de los oficiales electos. Yo sé que tenemos algunos por aquí. Por favor, Richard, ¿quién está primero? Gracias.
Okay, next we will have our elect officers. We know that we have 3 of them here. Richard, can you please?
So Madam President, at this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the electeds and I'm going to promote them to panelists. And Melanie, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I know there's been chatter going back and forth. Once I promote them, you can just go ahead and call them out who goes in what order, okay?
Yes, I do see that Assemblywoman Latoya Joyner is present. So I would like to open the floor to Ms. Joyner.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. Yes? Okay, perfect. I'm glad to be here with you all this evening. I want to thank the superintendent for his presentation and the CEC members and board for also allowing me to join this evening's program. I will be giving updates from my end. As you know, I'm the state representative in Albany, which I represent District 9, Highbridge area, Mount Eden, Morris Heights, Claremont, and the Concourse. This year, has been challenging with the pandemic, but with the pandemic, we have received a lot of federal money, which has now finally trickled down to our state to help us in areas where issues have been neglected for a very long time. So this year we received $12 billion in stimulus funding, and that money will be going directly to our schools. I've always been a big proponent of community schools, and we will be seeing $300 million going to our community schools, which will benefit many of our District 9 schools. Also in my area, the 77th Assembly District, we have a lot of students that live in temporary housing. So this has also been an issue that I've been working on since I started in the Assembly. And on the state level, we were able to get $14 million for that initiative. And that is going to support many of our students who are living in the shelters, who have had a hard time, even before the pandemic, but even worse during the pandemic with having access to Wi-Fi and laptops, etc. So this money can be used directly for families within the shelters. So supplies, transportation, cell phones, high-speed internet. If you know of any families that are still struggling with getting laptop access, please let my office know so that we can continue to work with our DOE partners to make sure our families have that. I know that this remote learning topic is sensitive to many of our parents. A lot of us were hit very hard with COVID, and just regaining trust back into our system, I know is going to take some time. I did just speak to the education chair in the Assembly, who said that if you are looking for a remote option, there is a way to request a waiver if you have like a medical hardship. So we will be meeting with the chancellor on this topic to see what can be done, because I know that, many of our families are already, have, medical conditions that we need to be aware of. So this will definitely be something that I will be bringing up to the chancellor and making sure that there is input and surveys conducted in our community to make sure we have input from our families. Also on the state level, I'm also the chair of labor. I just recently was appointed to chair of labor. So we've been doing a lot of work in this area this year with making sure that the Department of Labor was dispensing unemployment benefits quickly. If you know anyone else that has any unclaimed, has claims and still has not received their unemployment checks, please let us know, because we've been helpful with resolving those claims. I've also was part of a new initiative called the Excluded Worker Program, which basically was a $2.1 billion program that was dispensed out to the state to workers who are undocumented but were unable to receive any money, any unemployment money during this time, any stimulus money. If you were a worker and undocumented during this time, you may be eligible for these funds. So I really want to help promote this and make sure that our community members are aware of this, because it's a very vital program that is out there that will be helpful to people that suffered throughout the pandemic and had access to no other resources from our government. So we do have this funding that's available. We've also been working with the ERAP program, which is a rent relief program. We went back to Albany recently to extend the eviction moratorium, and I really lended my voice to the issue of making sure that there was funding in the budget to make sure that there were lawyers who could assist tenants who go into housing court and make sure that they have attorneys. I know on the city level, there's certain zip codes that have access to these attorneys, but I'm now the sponsor of legislation which will make this a statewide program, not just in only New York City, because we know that people upstate and Buffalo and other areas, they're also suffering from a housing crisis as well. So we want to make sure that this is a statewide program, and this budget, we were able to put in $25 million to make sure that no one has to enter into the housing court alone. Today, I also visited Rikers Island, which, very surprising to see, the conditions that many of our, community members are living in, both detainees and also employees of the correction system, many of them working 24-hour shifts. So we really have to work with the mayor's office. We're working with the DAs, with all of our community partners so that we can make sure that we really get to the root of the cause of this issue. We had 11 people that died within, the past couple of months. And, that's really horrific. And we really need to figure out why is this happening. So there will be a hearing in Albany on Friday about this issue to make sure, we really dig deep as to what is happening on Rikers Island. I also had the opportunity to join Senator Schumer last week about it was a press conference to urge the federal government to include funding for gun violence prevention programs. So programs like BRAG, Bronx Connect, Release the Grip, programs that I was fortunate enough to fund as well last year. We're trying to make a bigger dent in this issue because we have seen a spike in violence in our community, especially between our young people. So we want to make sure that there's adequate funding because that's really the root of a lot of these issues. We're not getting adequate funding. It's peanuts here and there, but we're not getting enough funding to address these issues. So we will be working with our federal partners and with the governor who also put funding behind this issue as well. And this year, I was also able to help combat this issue on the other side, which is getting employment for our young people. So we're working with New Settlement and their young persons workforce initiative, and we were able to get $150,000 for that program so that we actually have opportunities and workforce development programs directly within our community. Besides that, in the community, we've been out here. Even during COVID, we've been trying to, make sure we were visible and addressing a lot of our community members' needs with giving out masks and hand sanitizer. We sponsored a job fair in Highbridge. We've been doing park cleanups. We've been doing movie nights at PS 294. I was very thankful that they were open to hosting us there. We've been doing book bag giveaways. So if you know of any families that are in need, please contact my office so that we can be of assistance. This summer, we normally do our, summer readings in the garden, and we were able to sponsor summer reading initiatives and giving out literacy kits, which includes, book bags and books for our children to read to make sure that they're prepared for the upcoming school year. And that was also a success. So if you are in need, or if you know of any of your neighbors who are still in need, please contact my office. Also on Sundays, we have our free fitness boot camp workouts for our parents. And this was really started out of parents who lived on the concourse who, with the pandemic, a lot of us, were unable to go outside. So, this leads to a lot of other physical, mental health issues. So this was really a community initiative where we wanted to encourage people to get outside and get healthy. So we are sponsoring that. It's a boot camp. So if you want to work out, sweat a little bit for a healthy cause and get to know some of your neighbors, I want to encourage people to come out. And that's Sundays at Joyce Kilmer Park, which is on 161st Street in Grand Concourse at 9 o'clock. So again, thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. I wish you all well. My staffer, Stephanie, is also on the line as well. She will be attending the meetings. Sharon was previously attending the meetings, but now Stephanie from my office will be attending the meetings. So if there's any way we can continue to support, our parents, our educators, our students, please let us know how we can be of further assistance. Thank you.
Gracias, y como siempre ha sido bienvenida en este consejo, y lo más importante, y agradecerle que siempre trae buenos recursos para la comunidad.
Thank you. As always, you are welcome to this council, and I want to thank you because you always bring good resource for this community.
Melanie, ¿tenemos alguna otra participación de algún otro electo?
Yes, do you hear me?
Melanie?
Sí.
Yes, we have Chantel Jackson. So at this time, I would like to ask Chantel Jackson, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is Assemblymember Chantel Jackson, and I'm grateful to follow up my colleague Latoya Joyner because she got to say everything that I would have said when it comes to the state level. We do the same work, we just represent different districts. Her being 77 and I'm being 79, and I represent people who live in Concourse area, Morrisania, Melrose, Claremont, East Tremont, and Belmont. And you know, at the state level, and it looked, Assemblymember Joyner did a lot of, said everything that I would have said, which is great. I just want to let you guys know that my office does exactly the same amount of work with excluded workers, ERAP. We're spending a lot of time helping people with unemployment issues, anything of that sort. So if you need assistance, my staff is going to drop my information in the chat, and feel free to reach out to receive help. This Thursday, I just want to let you guys know, this Thursday, we're going to have an event in Tremont Park. September is Infant Mortality Awareness Month. And in the Bronx, we have disproportionately lost more of our babies due to a number of reasons, and we're going to have an event to bring awareness to infant mortality and how we can prevent those things. It is going to be this Thursday, September 23rd, from 9:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we're going to give away, do a lot of giveaways. The big giveaway is strollers, but we'll also be giving away like diaper bags and diapers and a lot of resources. So if you can, and it's not an event that you have to stay at, it's just an event that you want to stop by on your way to or from work or dropping off the kids. But it is going to be in Tremont, East Tremont and 3rd Avenue, which is known as Tremont Park, this Thursday. And to receive information about what's happening in the district, feel free to join our mailing list. The time is 9:30 to 1. Someone just asked in the chat, but feel free to join our mailing list so that you can stay updated on what's happening in the district. We're excited for back to school, and we want to encourage everyone to continuously wear your mask, use your hand sanitizer and all those things, but we are working. I signed on to a letter to have a remote option. It is extremely important for some people who just wearing a mask and using hand sanitizer is just not enough. And they need to socially distance, which require them to be home. So the conversations around having a remote option is continuing between the UFT, myself, our city legislatures, and our city agents. So just know that we are still working on behalf of the students, parents, and staff to make sure that everyone stays safe during this pandemic. And that is most of what I wanted to share with you all. Thank you all for continuously supporting the 79th District in my office, and let us know how we can be helpful to you all. Thank you. And yes, we do have a flyer. So if you drop your email in the chat to me, then I can make sure you get the flyer, or we can send it directly to you guys and then you guys can blast it out, however you want to do it.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Chantel Jackson. Do you guys hear me? So at this time, President Aide, you can continue with the President's report.
Sí, ya no tenemos ninguna otra persona que quiera participar.
We have no more persons that want to participate.
I see Vanessa Gibson, who's also present. I want to recognize her.
Okay.
She's waiting patiently.
Adelante.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Buenos noches a todos. It's good to see everyone. Welcome back, CEC District 9, and all of our community partners, parent leaders, elected officials. It's really great to see everyone. I hope everyone is healthy, well, and safe. I am your council member, Vanessa Gibson. I bring you greetings on behalf of our district and say thank you. I'm glad that we are back and meeting as school has started for in-person learning, and as Assemblywoman Joyner and Assembly Member Jackson And all of my colleagues really talked about a lot of the work we've done over the last several months during the summertime. I want to thank each and every one of you. I know it's been a challenging time, but I want to continue to salute and recognize all of our great parent leaders, our educators, first responders, and essential workers who are on the ground. I think COVID-19 was a learning lesson for so many of us. It reminds us that life is very precious and no one is guaranteed tomorrow. And during this pandemic, we've lost a lot of our own community members to COVID-19. So I want to keep them close to our hearts and continue to lift up those families who remain traumatized. And somehow we wake up every day and we go to work remaining committed and doing the work that we've all been called to do. So I just want to give you just a couple of points from our office in the City Council. And I want to remind everyone that my staffer, Nereda Gomez, is on the call. So if any of you need any assistance, please call Nereda and she will be able to help you. And I want to thank our Executive Superintendent, Erica Tabaya. Had a great opportunity a few weeks ago to meet with all of our educators, superintendents, deputies, not just District 9 across the Bronx. You all know why, just to reach out to the borough leadership to make sure that we know who we will be working with. And certainly our superintendent, Harry Sherman, thank you for your leadership. Our superintendent has joined me at many events during the summer season, and I want to thank all of you. To the United Parents of Highbridge and New Settlement Parent Action Committee, and really all of the parents. We've done a lot of great things together. Family days, back to the school events. Our office distributed over 1,500 book bags alone. And we're going to continue to do that, making sure our children are prepared. We had a great family day a few weeks ago. I want to thank all of you for participating. And really a lot of the COVID-19 related work, the vaccination pop-ups that we've done. We did a job fair as well with VIP Community Services and Assemblymember Jackson. We always want to make sure that we're doing our part to get residents back to work. And then now dealing with school reopening. Our office has received a number of calls, and I know all of you have as well, around busing, pupil transportation, Office of School Student Enrollment. There's just been a lot of things that have been happening. And so we're doing our best to troubleshoot, working with our superintendent, working with the district office to make sure that we guide parents the right way. I too added my name to a letter asking for a remote option because I think parents should have that option if they can. Not every parent has that opportunity because many of our parents are working, but I do appreciate and recognize all of you for your work. I want to give you a couple of announcements because this is my final year as your council member as I leave this particular position and close this chapter and look forward to opening a new chapter after the November election in January 1st, taking office in a new position. District 9 is my heart, my foundation. I have done so much work with you over the years, and I thank you for 8 years. It's been great. We've had a lot of challenges, but we've always kept the best interests of our students at the forefront of our work. And I thank you all for that. In my final budget that we passed on July 1st for FY22, you know I always got some goodies for District 9, and I made sure that we invested a lot of money for technology so our students can have laptops and Chrome notebooks. That is super important in addition to all of the capital work. So the first announcement, I joined elected officials, our superintendent, Harry Sherman, and we were at PS 126 in Highbridge. $6.2 million we've secured with School Construction Authority to renovate the playground at the school and the rooftop, which is currently an open piece of land. We are going to transform that into a playground. So the community gets a playground and PS 126 will get a playground, $6.2 million. I'm grateful for that. We've also made a lot of designations. You all know what's called Reso A money. We've given money to Grant Avenue Elementary, Kappa, PS 35, PS 53, PS 114, PS 294, PS IS 218, the Highbridge Green Middle School, PS 170, PS 163, PS 204, PS 311, PS 70, PS 126, specifically for technology, PS 469 at the Taft campus, PS 555, the Mount Eden Children's Academy, PS 28, PS 110, and MS 328. Very long list. I will share with your superintendent and your CEC leadership. And then another announcement I want to make, and this is very near and dear to my heart. You all know we're getting a brand new school at 1302 Edward L. Grant Highway. This is going to be an elementary school for 450 students. It's going to have all the amenities that every child deserves. And this year, as I leave the council, I was interested in making sure that we had a green roof on this new school. And I talked to School Construction Authority. We came up with a number of $1.3 million. And I'm very proud to announce that the School Construction Authority and I have put 50-50 towards $1.3 million. And we are getting a green roof on this new school. I am extremely proud. This is something that will last for generations to come. And I also want to recognize one of our longtime mentors and elected officials that passed away on May 8th, a mentor of mine and LaToya's, the Honorable Aurelia Green. Aurelia Green is proud. And I know she always wanted to see more schools in District 9 and more opportunities. And so I did this in her honor because I know that's exactly what she would want. And so I thank you all. My staff narrator will go over some of the upcoming events that we're having. And I'm so glad LaToya talked about gun violence and working with all of our anti-gun violence organizations, because we are seeing children being shot in parks and playgrounds, walking down the street, and it is not normal. Everyone deserves to be safe. So we're working with Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. We're working with Congressman Richie Torres and others. We're also working to get money for public housing, $40 billion from the federal government, because we can't just talk about it. We have to put money where our commitment is. And so we'll have further updates for you over the next few weeks. And finally, I want to say to all of you, happy Hispanic Heritage Month, in which we honor all of our wonderful contributions from Hispanics and Latinos throughout the city of New York. We're going to be having an event in conjunction with the New York Botanical Gardens, and stay on the lookout for that. And I look forward to working with you. Please stay encouraged. God bless you. Que Dios te bendiga. And I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Muchísimas gracias, señora Gibson, por todo su trabajo, por la colaboración que siempre ha brindado al distrito. Este es mío, Benito.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson. Thank you for your participation and all the work that you do for our district.
Y créame que la vamos a extrañar por este lado, pero esperemos que no se olvide mucho de nosotros y que al contrario empuje más para el trabajo del Bronx completamente.
Believe me, we will miss you, but we hope you don't forget us and keep working for the Bronx.
Y también agradecerle a la otra persona electa, es la señora Jackson. Si no estoy mal, también por todo lo que ofrece para la comunidad.
And also, thank you to Ms. Jackson for all that she's giving to the community.
Y a este tiempo sí quisiera pedirles un grandísimo favor, aprovechando y abusando de la confianza de estar en esta reunión con ustedes.
And also, at this time, I would like to ask you for a big favor, taking advance that you are here in this meeting.
Tal vez ustedes nos pueden ayudar con esta petición.
Maybe you can help us with this petition.
Precisamente por medio de la pandemia se ha visto retrasadas muchas oficinas en sus trabajos.
Because the pandemic, a lot of offices are being delayed in their work.
Pero yo he escuchado muchas personas de nuestra comunidad por la necesidad de preguntar cuándo podrán trabajar o volver a sus trabajos las oficinas del ID NYC.
And also a lot of people in our community is asking where will open again the offices of ID NYC.
Muchos están en la necesidad de adquirir su ID que ofrece el Estado.
a lot of them are on need of that ID offered by the state.
Otros necesitan renovarla.
And others need renovated.
Y otros más necesitan hacer actualizaciones dentro de esas IDs.
And few others need to, other than renew, update informations in the IDs.
Entonces, ese sería el favor grandísimo que se les pediría a ustedes electos, si nos pueden ayudar a empujar con esta oficina para, no sé, traer a lo mejor una oficina rodante que pueda ayudar a la comunidad.
And that's the favor that we are asking you, guys, elected officials, and maybe you guys can bring a mobile office that can help our community.
Esa sería la petición, gracias.
That's the petition. Thank you.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias nuevamente a nuestras mujeres empoderadas electas que están aquí con nosotros en esta reunión, y seguimos con el siguiente punto, que sería el informe de la presidenta del CEC.
Thank you to all those women, elected officials, and we will go and proceed with our next topic, that will be the inform.
Como ya había comentado anteriormente, les había en la reunión, en la sección anterior de nuestra reunión, pudieron escuchar que vamos a hacer nuestras visitas a las escuelas. Está en mute, Benito.
I'm sorry, Aide, if before you continue, if I believe Assemblywoman Chantel Jackson had her hands up, so I would just like to acknowledge that before we continue.
I'm sorry, I have forgot to make one more mention for the cafeteria worker job. I really came on to push that. So we are having a hard time filling the position for our cafeteria workers in District 9 and in District 7. And so my staff is going to drop the number in the chat. But if you are interested, or you know anyone who's interested in becoming one of our kids' favorite cafeteria worker, because we know how much we enjoy our cafeteria workers, please reach out to Community District Field Office 9 at 718-742-6460. Again, this is for District 9, 718-742-6460. And then for District 7, that is Community District Field Office 7, that is 718-742-6451. Again, that's 742-6451. My staff will drop the information in the chat, but we want to fill those positions with some people from the neighborhood who represent our neighborhood, who represent our students and our kids. So please, if you know anyone or you yourself are interested in working in our schools as a cafeteria worker, please apply.
Thank you again, Assemblywoman Chantel Jackson. Aide, you may continue.
Gracias. Bueno, pues ya saben, en el chat está la información por los que gusten obtenerla y no dejen pasar esa oportunidad.
Okay, you know that in the chat it's the information. Who wants to have it, try to don't waste that opportunity.
Bueno, entonces retomando nuestro tema, les comentaba, nuestro trabajo empieza con nuestras visitas a las escuelas.
As I said before, our job start with the visits to schools.
Pero otro trabajo también muy importante que viene en estas fechas es el town hall que tendremos con la canciller Meisha Porter.
But something important that is coming to is the town hall that we have with the Chancellor Porter.
El cual les pediré a todos que nos acompañen, que traigan sus preguntas, que vengan a compartir, a escuchar el día 19 de octubre.
And also I will ask you come and bring your question, come to listen the date of October 19.
Así que tenemos demasiado trabajo, ya que tenemos que organizar este town hall y vamos a trabajar un poquito con el distrito.
And that's mean that we have a lot of job to do because we have to organize that town hall and we have to work in the organization with the district.
Ya que vamos a solicitarle al superintendente Sherman que nos pueda proporcionar los datos de los idiomas o de los lenguajes que se hablan de nuestro distrito para poder expandir esa invitación a todos los padres.
Then that's why we're asking Superintendent Sherman to share the languages that we can give to our participants in the district.
Ya que nos gustaría que ellos también tomen participación en este town hall tan importante para nosotros como padres y para nuestro distrito.
Because we would like that they participate in this town hall because it's very important for us as a parents, but also for the district.
De igual manera, también dejarles saber que seguimos en espera y comentarle también eso, que lo tenga en mente nuestro superintendente Sherman.
And also to, I'm sorry, perdón, ¿puede usted repetirlo, por favor?
Sí, también es comentarle a nuestro superintendente Sherman que tenga en mente que aún estamos con la espera de la vacante de nuestro estudiante de la high school.
Also to let Superintendent Sherman that we are waiting for the vacancy of our student for the high school.
Y de la misma manera, como ustedes podrán darse cuenta y los que nos han acompañado en reuniones anteriores,
and also as you can notice, and those who share with us previous meetings,
han visto que algunos miembros no han podido asistir a nuestras reuniones, entonces creo yo que vamos a tener ya vacantes de miembros para el siguiente reunión.
Because you can see that many members are missing the meetings, then I think that we will have more vacancies for next meetings.
Así que a este tiempo sí voy a hacer un pequeño espacio y les voy a pedir a los miembros que voten si están de acuerdo para hacer la moción en la siguiente reunión y poder remover a estos miembros que no han asistido.
Also, I would like to ask all the members to vote and see if we can make the motion to dismiss all those members which are missing the meetings.
Yes.
I, Grisel Cardona, make the motion to dismiss the members that have been absent for the past 3 consecutive and one more meetings. Can I get a second?
Second.
Natasha Sanchez second this motion.
Perfecto, gracias, miembros del consejo. Entonces, estamos de acuerdo. En la siguiente reunión tendremos nuestras mociones para remover a nuestros exmiembros del consejo.
Thank you, members. And now we have the motion for next meeting to remove all those ex-council members.
Y a ese tiempo les podremos ya enviar entonces a los PCs de las escuelas sus aplicaciones para que puedan invitar y extender la invitación y que se puedan unir algún padre a estas vacantes.
And then we will communicate with the PC in order they can send information to the to other parents that can or want to join us in those vacancies.
Entonces, a este tiempo le voy a pasar el turno a la señora Natasha Sánchez, nuestra tesorera, para que nos dé nuestro reporte.
Now I'm giving the floor to Natasha Sanchez, our treasurer, in order that she can give us the report.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So far for our non-contractual services, activity code X59X, excuse me, I'm sorry, X59J for parent involvement, we've put in the amount of 1,400 for the member reimbursement, and the amount for the budget issued was 17,400. For the non-contractual services, activity code X59K for parent involvement copier, we've put in the amount of 1,899, and we were issued for the budget of 2,100. For the non-contractual services, activity code XCK2 for parent involvement 8C, we have not put any amounts in but we were approved and issued for the budget of amount of 3,000. For general supplies, for parent involvement, for chairs and supplies, activity code X590. We've put in the amount 673, and we were issued in the amount of the budget of 1,000. And for general supplies, activity code X59R, for parent involvement P card, we haven't used any money from the budget, but we were issued 1,500.
Gracias, señora Sánchez. Entonces, ahora sí viene lo más interesante para los padres.
Thank you. And now we have the most interesting for our parents.
Bueno, porque están esperando ya su sesión para hacer sus comentarios y ser escuchados. Y adelante, vamos a abrir el piso para los comentarios públicos.
Because they are waiting to make the question and comments, let's go ahead and open the floor for the
Sin
public.
antes, por favor, Richard y Melanie, dar las reglas de cómo van a ser escuchadas las preguntas.
Richard and Melanie, can you please give the information about the rule, how we will proceed with the questions?
Mel, you want to put up the slide?
Can you all hear me?
Hear you now.
Okay, great. We will take questions and comments from participants who joined via computer in the Zoom room. Please press the hand icon on the bottom of your screen to be recognized at that time, or type your name and the word speak in the chat box. When your name is called, please repeat your first and last name before beginning your comment or question. Next, we will take questions and comments from participants in the interpretation room. We will allow for a pause so that our colleagues from FACE may collect the names of Spanish-speaking participants who wish to speak. There will be a long pause, and we appreciate your patience. This will allow our interpreters time to organize the questions. If you have called in using phone only, we will call out the last 4 digits of your phone number and will manually unmute your line to allow you to say yes or no if you would like to ask a question. If you do want to speak, please state your first and last name slowly before beginning your comment. So at this time, I would just like to look through the attendees, and please, again, use the hands icon so we can acknowledge you, and you can be unmuted to ask your question.
So Melanie, at this time, I'm seeing no hands raised on the attendee list, as well as the panelists, but we all, my hands will start coming up shortly. And then we also need to just remember to go back to the interpretation line.
Okay,
so want to recognize Aricelis Figueroa?
Yes, I would like to recognize Aricelis. You have your hand raised. The floor is yours.
Follow. Just to give you a quick update. Once we recognize the first speaker, which is Aricelis, who's asked a question, the second person will be Gladys Gomez. That will be the order. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Good evening. I just have a question. Being that this is a new year and we have a lot of staff moving around in the district, I just want to point out and request the superintendent if it's possible to have an updated flyer or paper or email where we can see who the parents coordinators are this year, because some parent coordinator have been moved, promoted, so that will help everybody, including me, when we need assistance in a school to contact the correct parent coordinator at the school. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Barbara and Yadira are on the line. Barbara, Yadira, if you would work on putting that together, and we'll share that with the CEC. We can give that to Melanie, who can share it with you, and Melanie can follow up with them, and we'll all work together to make sure you have that.
Thank you, Superintendent Sherman.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we would go with Gladys Gomez. The floor is yours.
You are unmuted at this time, Gladys. You may ask your question.
Yes, good evening all. Two questions, one for Superintendent Sherman and one for the elected officials. For Superintendent Sherman, are schools still supposed to be using the Situation Room, and is that room still supposed to be sending out notices regarding actual cases and possible cases, or what is the status on that room?
Hi, Gladys. Always good to hear from you. And yes, and yes. So schools are still reaching out to Situation Room, reporting potential cases, reporting confirmed cases. The Situation Room is sending those updates to principals to share out with families. As far as direct updates to families, I'm not sure. We have had some cases since school has opened. And so I'm not sure whether or not those communications are coming directly to families as they were in the spring and summer. Perhaps someone can confirm. And by the way, let me just take this moment, because several times as we go through this, I'm going to defer to my deputies who have been doing some of the preparation for this. And I do want to introduce you all to our new deputy. So we still have Jasmine Varela, wonderful Jasmine, who is our deputy in District 9. And also we are fortunate to now have filled the second deputy position. And so Anthony Rivera is joining our District 9 team as a deputy superintendent as well. Jasmine, as you prepared the health and safety, do you know specifically whether or not the Situation Room updates are going to families, or is that something we need to double check on?
Good evening, everyone. Absolutely, as cases come about, the school is being contacted and families are also receiving outreach. And I know this to be true because at Gold we had situations and the principal had to reach out directly to those families.
Okay, sorry, so just follow-up question on that. So then it's not going school-wide anymore. It's strictly to affected families? These notices are going out to affected families, correct?
Correct.
So I understand what you're asking there, Gladys. Like our protocol was that we'd send out that information to all families, as well as families would get direct contact from Situation Room. We'll clarify that and send that out to the CEC tomorrow. Sonja, I know you're on. Sonja, can you just take a note of any of the things that we need to follow up on? So we're going to get that updated parent coordinator list. And we're also going to clarify what communication is coming from Situation Rooms to families, whether whole school is notified, or only affected schools are notified, and whether Situation Room is notifying directly, and we'll share that out.
Great, thank you. And now for the elected officials, I don't know how we could go ahead and help our community with testing. Testing is no longer free for those that have private insurance, and it's expensive. We're talking $125 for a rapid test, $85 for the 3-day test. If heaven forbid one of my children were to get in close contact, it would be a huge impact on our budget, as well as of those of many other families. So I don't know if there's something that you could advocate for testing to either be done at local offices, or also for them to be done for free again, because it's we're still in a pandemic. Not everyone has returned to work, and families are still hurting. Thank you.
Gladys, I know you directed that to the elected officials, but my understanding is free COVID testing is available in New York City. I just put a link in the chat. It's just a matter of searching down the site. And certainly for students, you can consent to in-school testing, and students will then be tested weekly. But if you were like concerned about a close contact and wanted to do like a screening test, pretty sure that that link will give you the information you're looking for. And sorry, I don't mean to step on the toes of any of the electeds if you have additional information.
Oh, thank you for jumping in, Superintendent. We will also put in a link where the health and hospitals have free pop-up sites, mobile vans. But if there are instances where people are getting paid, please, can you share that with my information so that we could advocate that this is an issue for our parents.
Thank you. And so now we will hand the floor over to, I do see Maria, followed by Maribel Gonzalez, our first Vice President. So Maria, the floor is yours.
One second. Maria, you should be unmuted at this time. You may ask your question. Or if I'm not mistaken, is it *6 to unmute yourself if you're joining via telephone and you're having a difficult time? There you go. Yep, we hear you now, Maria. You may ask your question.
Yes, I have a concern. I have a son that's in school, and I had heard that he would sit down in his classroom face to face with another child because they didn't have enough room. So they made the tables to face each other. And I offered to buy a plexiglass where, you know, it's a divider for the child, and to see if he could take it to school. And I was told no and everything. So I want to know, what are we going to do about that? Like, when there's no space in the classroom, that they have to fix the seating arrangements to make the students fit.
Thank you for your question.
Hi, so the CDC guidance is that students be spaced at least 3 feet during eating, and they can be unmasked when they eat. Whether or not they're facing each other, facing sideways, is not necessarily a part of that guidance. The way that transmission does or doesn't take place is not necessarily going to be particularly affected by the direction that students are facing. I did respond to your question about the partition. Partitions are not a part of CDC guidance as far as remediation efforts in school. If they make you feel more comfortable, some schools, so a lot of the schools have what we call face shields, which basically is like a headband, and there's like a plastic piece in front of the face, which if you wanted your child to wear a face shield while eating, that could be sort of a version of that. You can reach out to the district office directly. We can talk about the details of this more. So we want you to feel safe. We also need to respect the CDC guidance, and we also have to understand that schools have to make these policies work for everyone in the school, right? And so there has to be sort of a balance between what makes you feel that you're taking all the precautions you can take and what is reasonable for schools to implement without sort of having a different protocol for every child. And so the expectation of schools is that they follow the CDC guidelines, which are intended to create the highest level of mitigation. But that said, I want to be able to continue this conversation around the details that you're raising. And so in terms of like, what exactly are you looking to do? What do you feel comfortable with? How can the school work with you? We can have that conversation. We can pull the school in. Yadira just put the district office phone number. So when you call, just explain that you spoke during the CEC meeting, and we will set up a conversation to follow up on your concerns.
Melanie, I believe you're muted. I can't hear you.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent Sherman. Up next, we have our first Vice President, Maribel Gonzalez, followed by Grisel Cardona. So Maribel, the floor is yours.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I have a couple of comments and a couple of questions. One, it was so beautiful when everything was being said on how the importance of our children returning back into the classroom is. All the guidelines that we were going to have, all the protection for our children that we're supposed to have. And now it just seems like, oh, the CDC guideline, this, that, so many guidelines have changed now. And my biggest concern is because, you want the parents to trust our school system. You want the parents to send our children into the school, but things are not what was painted to be. A lot of things are not falling into place the way we were told they were going to fall into place. Like, one of my concerns is now all of a sudden it's not mandatory to do temperature check. It should be the parents' job to do so. That is concerning because you have parents that work. Some parents leave their home before their children do. And not every parent, when we're rushing out the door, remember, wait, let me take my child's temperature before they walk out the door to make sure they don't have a temperature. Now, that child's temperature didn't get taken at home. Child gets to school, temperature is not being checked as well. So if that child, by any chance, is carrying some type of temperature and you don't recognize it right away, that is so concerning, because then you're putting the risk of other students in that classroom at hand. And it's not fair. It's really not fair to us. It's sad that this is what it's coming down to. So much push, your children have to go back to school. I have a child who has epileptic seizure. He's in school. I have been sending him. But my thing is this, his immune system is not all that all the time. So the last thing I want to hear is my son being sent home because he caught a temperature, I don't know by who, and now he's got to get tested, and let's say, may God forbid not, my son tests positive. You know how angry of a parent I personally will be? I'm not gonna be a happy camper. I'm not gonna make it easy for DOE. I'm sorry to say it. I'm being very blunt. I'm being very transparent because I have children, small children at home, okay? And because so much pushing that is the importance of our child to be in a classroom, but now so many guidelines are being minimized for us parents. And you want us to trust you guys? Let's be transparent. Next thing you know, that social distancing is going to go out the window. Kids are going to be in each other's face constantly. My kids were excited to go back to school. This is one of the main reasons I allow them to go back into the school. They want to see their friends. Kids do not understand the importance of not trying to be too close to each other, especially being out of school for over a year. So, and then another thing, we don't know where other parents be. We don't know if they take care of themselves. We don't know if they use masks when they're around other people. We don't know who they surround themselves with. They come home to their kids. They give their kids whatever they're bringing out from the street. We don't know that. So it's concerning once again. I understand everything is about the money, the budget, and it's important for these kids to be in the schools because of the money. But what about their safety? What about our concerns as parents? When do we get some type of say? You're playing with our children's life at the end of the day when it comes down to it. So I feel like temperature check shouldn't fall on the parents, because that's not what was told to us to begin with. Temperature check was told to us that schools will make sure temperature checks get done every day. Now, all of a sudden it says, well, it is no longer the school's responsibility. Now it's the parents' responsibility. I always understood that random testing is going to be done. No problem. That's something you guys always said. But the temperature check was something that was told to us that the school was going to do. Now, as parents, fall again into this box that we now have to make sure we take care of our children and make sure they're safe. And if we choose not to allow them in to the school, we have problems then coming at our door. We have problems with the school. The phone call starts, the harassment starts, but it's not fair. Like, you guys have really closed every window for us. There's not much of a window for parents at this point. We have no choice but to send our children into the school. I mean, basically, that's what has been put in the table. We have no choice. But at the end of the day, a lot of things have changed also with the circumstances of temperature checks and everything else. My children are in a building that has high school, middle school, elementary. You know how crazy high school students could be. You know how crazy middle schools can be. Any of these kids can be contracting COVID. We don't know. And one of our little children's come in contact with that. So we really have to take a step back and have to now ask ourselves, what are we doing? What are we doing? We leave it up to DOE. We left it up to you guys. And now it's like, now little by little, the rules are changing on us. And I feel like it's not fair. So how can you guys make us feel safe is the question. How can you make us feel safe?
Thanks for your question, Member Maribel Gonzalez.
So Maribel, I understand the fear and anxiety. I truly do. You all know I have a baby, a little, a 6-month-old child, and she can't be vaccinated. She can't mask. I don't take her anywhere. I take her in the store for a couple minutes at a time if I'm out on a walk and I need to pop in and get some milk or something, right? Like, it's not life as usual. It's not business as usual. We all know we're not there yet. So I want to answer it in a couple of ways. All right. So one way is just to constantly reiterate the policies that we're following are not set by District 9, right? I understand that I represent the city. I understand that I'm a city agent. I get all of that, but I also want you to, like, of course you understand this is a city policy. This isn't like a conversation we're having at the District 9 level. Well, what do we want the procedures to be? Specifically to your concern of the health screening and the sort of the procedures that are taken and who takes the temperature and so on. Families do the health screening. I understand that a family may decide that they're not going to do the temperature check, right? And they're going to say they did the temperature check and they're going to send their child to school. There has always been basically an element of collective trust that is not limited to the temperature check when it comes to the health screening. Health screening asks, have you been in close contact? The health screening asks, do you have any symptoms? The health screening asks what the temperature is, right? So it asks all these questions. And in every one of those questions, the requirement is for the person filling that out to be honest. The schools can do the temperature check. Some of them are doing it anyway. Whether or not that is a school-wide policy, whether or not that is a system-wide policy is something that you can bring up with the chancellor when she's here next month. It's something that you can advocate to elected officials who can advocate to City Hall about what the policy is. But the thing that I would say about that is that the temperature check is actually like a minimal component of that, right? Like the issue is we are all trusting one another to put the public health and safety first. The other thing I would say is that as we are still in COVID, I started by talking about my child and the fact that we're not going to put her on an airplane right now. We're not going to take her into a restaurant right now. She can't be vaccinated. She can't protect herself. And so she is vulnerable. At the same time, as an infant, she is minimally at risk. And our children are minimally at risk. If our children are medically fragile, then we can apply for them to have home instruction, and they can have home remote instruction if they are genuinely medically fragile. Everyone 12 and older can get vaccinated, and those who are not eligible to be vaccinated, able to be vaccinated, they can also apply for at-home instruction. And it is an extremely minimal, small percentage of our population. What I'm saying is the collective science are some things that are at tension with one another. Our kids are at the least risk from COVID. That doesn't mean zero, but it means the least. They're also at risk for the flu. They're also at risk from asthma. They're also at risk from MRSA. They're at similar risks to all of those things that we all live with and process every day, in addition to the risk that they are at for COVID-19. COVID-19 is not going away, ever, ever. It's never going away. And so as we move forward, we have to take the steps that we can take to mitigate. We have to get vaccinated. We have to test. We have to mask. We have to do health screeners. We have to quarantine. We have to do all of these things, but we also have to move forward because our kids need to be in school. And so we are looking for a new normal. I can't speak to specific policy. The reason, Maribel, that we defer to the CDC and to the city is because they give us the guidance. We don't set this policy. So I can't say, well, you know, in District 9, if I was setting this policy, maybe we do A, B, and C. It doesn't matter. It's not my policy to set. And so when you ask the question, how can I help you to feel safe? The only thing I can say to you is, I have made all the same calculations that you are making. I have to navigate my own health and safety. I had to navigate all of this while my wife was pregnant and when and my baby is an infant, and we all are navigating this. And so I do hear everything you're saying, and I understand, and it all resonates with me, and I sympathize, and I don't negate anything that you said. And the only thing I can say is this is the guidance that I'm given, the same as you, and that the bigger picture is there is minimal risk to our children. And if we are following all of the guidance works together to protect our children. It's not one thing, it's all of those things together protect our children. And if there are specific elements of the guidance that we feel should be different, then those are things to bring up to our elected officials, to advocate to central, to the mayor's office. Those are things to bring up in our town hall. But in the meantime, to understand we're all living with this, right? I am vaccinated. I'll share that publicly. I'm vaccinated. That is a mandate, and that is the step I can take. That doesn't mean I'm at zero risk. Every day I go into a school, there is a possibility, as I am in that school, that I could pick it up, even vaccinated, and I can bring it home to my baby who has no protection. But I also understand those risks are so minimal, and I've done everything I can to mitigate them, and this is what I have to live with. And so I hear and understand all of your fear, and I don't know how I can make you safe other than to say that I'm out here living with this too, and we are all doing our best to make it, and we all have to, as a community, work together on this. And I hope that's helpful, but that's all I can say.
I understand what you're saying. But you're saying ages 12 to 18 can be vaccinated, but that doesn't mean that every 12 through 18 students have been vaccinated, because you have so many families against vaccination as well. So, whether a child is vaccinated or not, it's still risky. Like right now, I'm going through it because my niece, who's only 11, tested positive with COVID from school. And she's very ill. So at this point, I am very bothered because, as much as we say our children have a less percentage of catching COVID, I'm living through that situation through my niece at this present moment. And this is why I'm so bothered with the whole guideline situation, because, how do we know the schools are being cleaned properly? How do we know the steps are being taken the correct way? We don't know as parents, because we're not allowed into the school to even really see exactly what is what and what's going on. It's like we're like put in a ball that it's like we're stuck in, because as parents, we never want to go through that situation. And I'm not sure, I don't know if the schools are being sanitized correctly on a daily basis, because I believe that schools should be sanitized every day. Is it happening every day? We don't know. The schools can say yes, but we don't know that because we're not there. We're not there to see if it's happening. They're going to say whatever they need to say to keep that school open. And that's the sad part. So at the end of the day, like I said, not every child that could get vaccinated is vaccinated. So it's still a risk. And as a parent, it's very concerning to me. And I'm very bothered by it. I haven't stopped my children from being in the school, but like I said, if my child comes home sick and has tested positive, trust and believe this face is going to be all over DOE, because I trusted DOE with my children. And my kids don't leave my home at all. At all. This is now when they're going outside because they have to walk to school and back home. And I've been an essential worker since day one, since this came out. And I thank God every day. I have never tested positive, kept myself well kept, vaccinated because I had to because of my job. So I know that if my child gets sick, it didn't come from me. because even though I'm vaccinated in my job, we have a company that comes in every 6 weeks and tests every employer. So I know it's not going to come from me. So like I said, if one of my kids was to come home and test positive, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a big problem because I trust the DOE with my children.
Thank you, Maribel, and thank you, Superintendent. I mean, this is very difficult dialogue, and Madam President, I wish to just interject for the sake of time. It's 7:52. We haven't gone to the interpretation line as well. And I want to offer those parents and folks there to have an opportunity to ask their questions because I'm seeing them on the chat. Is that okay, Madam President?
Perfecto, sí, estamos bien.
So at this time, interpreters, if we may, and just for the general audience, we're going to take a pause. There'll be a moment for us to just wait to see if the interpreters have any questions in the interpretation lines. They will check those lines at that time. So please just bear with us for a momentary pause. Interpreters, if you can check the Spanish interpretation line to see if there are any questions at this time. Thank you very much.
Hi, Mr. Guevara. No, there's no one in the Spanish line with any questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Ms. Baez, we may continue with the list as you have it with regards to questions that are asked or hands that you see raised in this room. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guevara. And so we will proceed with Grisel Cardona, followed by our treasurer, Natasha Sanchez. So Grisel, the floor is yours. Grisel, are you still there?
We can circle back to Ms. Cardona if you wish.
Yeah, I'm here.
There she is. There she is. That was I was seconds away, Ms. Cardona. My apologies. Go right ahead.
I just wanted to ask, can there be another option besides peanut butter and grilled cheese? Can you bring it back to the people? Because honestly, to eat peanut butter and grilled cheese every day for lunch is kind of, it's just not, it's not well in the stomach. And some parents may not even have time to like pack their kid a lunch because, due to tight schedules and trying to get things together, or may have multiple kids in the household. So if we can bring that back to the people, Superintendent Sherman, thank you.
Yes, so the menu has been raised a few times. Sancha, please put on a note that we're going to follow up tomorrow with school foods. We're going to invite them to the next meeting, but we're also going to have a conversation with them about what the menu is, variety, what options are for kids who are eating in the classroom. So we'll follow up on that. Sonia, do you have that?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Sherman. And so now we will proceed with Natasha Sanchez, our treasurer, followed by Recording Secretary Wanda Jackson. So Natasha, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Melanie. My question is for Superintendent Sherman. I know the visitor policy is for everyone's well-being, but my question is for, as you mentioned, there are families who are for the vaccine and there are families who aren't for the vaccine. What are we going to do for the parents who are not for the vaccine but want to attend parent-teacher conferences? Because it's not remote learning, how are they going to gain that access to be able to help parents? Because the teachers for their children, because education, for me at least, I think it's parent, children, and teachers. We work as a whole, and not being able to interact with the teachers and get an understanding of what's going on each semester because they're not vaccinated. I think that can cause a issue for everyone to be on the same page, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So all parent-teacher conferences are remote this year. And so that takes care of that as far as making sure that everyone can participate, as well as schools should have designated parent outreach time, and that should always be presented as a remote option. Reality is most of our parent interaction this year is going to be remote or is going to be outside, mask. The level of parents in schools is going to be pretty minimal. A parent who is vaccinated can make an appointment, can come in person, but our guidance is always to start with remote outreach and remote parent support to make sure that we are being inclusive of everyone.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you again, Superintendent Sherman. I believe Wanza Jackson had her hands up, but I no longer see it up. But I just would like to open the floor to Ms. Jackson and see if she still has a question. So Ms. Jackson. If not, we can proceed with Aricelis Figueroa and then come back around to Ms. Jackson.
She might have dropped off. We'll just check on her in the attendee room just in case we need to promote her.
Will do. Aricelis, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I just want to go back what Maribel was saying about the kids' safety and the minimum space they have in the classroom. And as I heard this person saying, the divider for the desk of the student or of the family member, why that's not being an option? If you go to a bank, they have those dividers for the customer. If you go to the hospital, any office right now, that's what they're using in order to provide more safety. Right now, I don't know if you have noticed, I'm sick as the dog. And why? Because my son came home with a bad cold. I had kept him for 2 days, and tomorrow, I don't know how he's gonna feel. The school called me and they said, take him to urgent care. If he come negative in the test, you could bring him. But this is a problem where the classroom don't have enough space. And the parent coordinator I spoke today, wasn't aware that the setting of the classroom was kids facing each other. And I was this morning in the meeting where before the superintendent in the office for the CC stated that he was going to visit schools. So I guess this school wasn't busy because this teacher had the kids facing each other. So they had to take the mask to eat. So why is this parent can buy it? Why not allowing to have that partitioning is my question. Is it a budget or is it a guidance? Because I did my homework and investigation and my goddaughter had her 3 kids in KIPP, and they do have those partitioning in the whole class, all classes. So that's my question. Is it budget or is it CEC? And if the parent can buy it and they willing to buy that for the children, what's the problem? Why can't they do it? Why not? Thank you.
It is not city policy. And just because something makes us feel more safe doesn't mean it actually makes us more safe. A partition with an open space above does not make us more safe. When you describe in a bank, if I walk into a bank and the whole wall is partitioned off and there's like that's one thing, but we can't build these spaces around our children. If I'm sitting facing you and I have a little space around me, everything can go up and around and over. It's not part of the guidance because the science doesn't say that it makes us more safe. It is certainly not a budget issue for the DOE to buy partitions. I know people are like concerned about it. This is not about the DOE trying to save money. If it would make you more safe to put up a partition, I can inquire as to whether or not that is something we can allow you to do, and then I can speak to the principal about doing it, right? But there is what makes us feel more safe, and there is the science as to what actually makes us more safe. And the guidance that we have is rooted in what actually makes us more safe. Right now, the positivity rate for testing in schools is 0.3%. 0.3% of people who are tested have been positive. So there have been 35,535 tests conducted in schools so far. There have been 199 total positive cases, 99. And so the positivity rate is 0.33%. That is 1/3 of 1% of people who are tested in schools. That's a very, very, very good positivity rate, right? What that says is there isn't high transmission in schools right now. If there is high transmission in schools, the school will be closed. If it will make you feel more safe for your child to be able to have a partition, Sonja, please add that. I will reach out to Central and ask, if a parent makes this request, is it okay for us to accommodate it? And if it is okay for us to accommodate it, we will certainly accommodate it. If it makes you feel more safe, if you feel that that's going to be helpful, we can do that. If I assure you that it is not a budget reason that the DOE is not using the partitions. There would be no issue whatsoever for the DOE to buy the partitions and put them in schools. The issue is, do they actually add anything? Are they actually effective? Do they actually do anything to reduce transmission? And those are the things that we're going to follow to make sure that we're keeping our kids safe. But we're going to follow up, and if we can make that allowance for you, we can. But again, as I also say with everything, these aren't just, so basically I'm in the position of, I'm not setting these policies, and so I'm learning about them, I'm understanding the reasoning for them, and then we're implementing them. But again, what I would say is the reasoning around the policy has to do with what the science is telling us.
Thank you, Superintendent Sherman. We do Ms. Jackson back, so I would like to circle back and give Ms. Jackson the floor to ask her question at this time. So Ms. Jackson, the floor is yours.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Superintendent, this question was for Christopher that gave us the report about the cleaning, the protocols in cleaning. My question is that, is this an outside agency that's coming in and cleaning the schools, or how are they selected to clean in the schools?
So, Ms. Jackson, I am looking for Mr.
He's still
Caffey.
here.
Yep, he's unmuted. You may.
You said, did you hear the question, Superintendent?
Superintendent Sherman, I can take that if you like.
Yes, please.
Sure. So just to answer the question, the cleaning of schools is the responsibility of the cleaning staff, the custodial staff in the schools. So that's not outsourced. There are no organizations that are brought in. So Mr. Kaifa discussed the electrostatic sprayers. So each of the cleaners were trained on how to use those sprayers, and they're charged, and they have the responsibility of maintaining all those cleaning protocols throughout the day and then every night.
Okay, so my follow-up question to that is that you're saying that the custodial staff is doing this job. Okay, so we're talking about schools that right now that are opened up that might not have a full team of custodial staff in them. So how are parents being reassured that this is being done?
So Ms. Jackson, you cut off at the end. I think the heart of the question was, how can families be reassured? Can you hear?
Okay.
Can
I
everyone
can
hear me?
No, it's going in and out. That's our
can hear you.
internet.
So I think Superintendent Sherman alluded to this a little earlier. You know, we're in a place where, unfortunately, as uneasy as it is, there's a certain amount of trust that we have to have in one another, and in the structures that we have in place. And while, yeah, there definitely are schools that are understaffed, we've prioritized the health and safety protocols, and we've made sure to message to schools and custodial staffs that while, you know, we may not be getting to everything, but this is something in a school that has to be addressed on a daily basis, and it is. And, you know, I'm not sure how much of a reassurance it is, but, you know, to Superintendent Sherman's, just alluding to something that he just shared regarding the infection rate across the city, what I'd like to share is the infection rate in schools and the transmission rate in schools in the Bronx is actually even lower than the city average right now. And so in the Bronx, of the students that have been tested since the opening day of the school year, 0.2%, which equates to only 14 students. So 14 students have tested positive in Bronx schools since opening the doors on the 13th, which is an extremely low number. And obviously it doesn't mean that it's gone, but it helps us further contextualize the gravity of what's happening in schools. So what I will say is that, you know, custodial teams are working extremely hard of all the schools that I've been in. I see it happening on a daily basis. And I know that school leaders, principals are applying much needed pressure and working with their custodial teams to make sure, number one, that they have the equipment that they need, they have the resources that they need, and that they're prioritizing the health and safety protocols that have been established and in place.
My only question again, once again, is that being understaffed in District.
You're going out again, Ms. Jackson.
Pardon the interruption. I think Ms. Jackson is having connectivity issues at this time. Perhaps we can also just, in the interest of time, get Ms. Jackson to just send us your question to you directly to you, Ms. Baez, and then we can relay that to the district.
I withdraw the question. I withdraw the question, being that you say that there's technical difficulty. I withdraw the question. It's not being answered anyway.
No worry, Ms. Jackson. We'll go ahead and make sure that, you know, Ms. Baez and you connect so that we can get that. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Ms. Baez?
Yes, we'll do. So I do see two more hands raised. Oh, well, one just went down. And so I believe that that's Ms. Natasha Sanchez, and that will conclude the open floor portion of the meeting. So Ms. Sanchez, the floor is yours.
Yes, I had another question I completely forgot. My apologies. Regarding the quarantine policy, if I'm not mistaken, it said something of the matter that if students are unvaccinated and they're masked and at least 3 feet distance, and they're near a 3 feet distance of a student who tested positive, under CDC guidelines, they're not considered. I guess they won't have to go under quarantine. However, in the school, we understand that you guys are going to try to keep the students away from each other with the 3 feet, but how about students that hang out? So like my daughter, I just recently found out that there's a little group of students, because they haven't seen each other in over a year, that they hang out after school. Now, God forbid one of those students come out positive, they're all under the age of 12. So if one of them is positive and they all hung out with each other, just because inside the school they were 3 feet away, doesn't mean they were 3 feet away outside the school. So how would that, I guess, play a role of, God forbid, my child getting quarantined just because she wouldn't be considered a person that needs to be quarantined under the CDC guidelines. However, she was in close contact outside of the school.
I understand your question, and it's a good one. But I want you to think about this, right? So regardless of whether or not your child is in this, like in the same class, a close contact, our school policy doesn't cover what kids are doing out of school, right? So the policy right now, as of today, is if there's one positive case in the classroom, everyone quarantines. That's not the science. The science is like, look, if you're distancing and you're masking and you're doing everything you're supposed to do, you don't have to quarantine the whole class. Kids are going to miss out on a lot of instruction that way, because as Deputy Rivera was saying, as low as the positivity rate is, takes one kid, now the whole class is out of instruction for that whole week. So if we're doing everything we're supposed to be doing, then we know that that we should be safe, right? Now, let's say a kid in another class is the kid that person is hanging out with. Our policy right now doesn't cover that. Our policy doesn't cover if you're in close contact with somebody in the grocery store or close contact with somebody at home. So it's a very good question you're raising, but this is where our screener comes in, right? Where our screener is, look, whether you are in the class with that child or not in the class with that child, if you are hanging out at that child's house all evening and you find out that that child was positive, you shouldn't be coming to school. You should be quarantined because you're a close contact. And that has always been the issue where we need to collectively take this seriously. And I do see in the chat, people are sort of communicating that not everybody takes this the same level of serious. This is the work we have to do together. So Natasha, your question is a great one. It's a really good point. And what it comes down to is that's where people need to be honest on the screener. And that's the same whether we're quarantining the whole class or not. If you have a close contact out of school, that's the screener that protects us.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, no problem.
You're muted.
Thank you. So I do want to acknowledge that there is a hand raised in the attendees, but we are at 8:14, and I do want to just ask President Aide if you would like to proceed with this question. Oh, well, the hand went down. Okay, so there are no other hands at this time, and so that would conclude the public comment session. And so Aide, you may proceed.
Muy bien, Melanie, muchas gracias. Entonces, una cosa que les quería comentar es que realmente sí sabemos que están en cambio mucho los protocolos y todo viene del Departamento de Educación, ¿verdad?
One thing that I would like to comment with you is that we are being changing protocols and everything is coming from the health department, right?
Entonces, día a día están cambiando. Guarden eso en mente y estén al pendiente. Y por favor, vengan al Town Hall, que aquí va a estar la persona indicada a la que tienen que traerle estas preguntas.
Please keep that in mind. And also, please come to the Town Hall because there will be the person which can answer all your questions.
Entonces, por favor, compártanla con sus padres, compártanla con las escuelas y si las escuelas se lo envían, ustedes traten de traer a más padres a que estén con nosotros en este Town Hall.
Please share with parents and if the parents, and if you get the information, please bring it to the parents to the Town Hall.
Y como yo leí en el chat, María decía que no le gustaba hablar. Si ustedes no quieren hablar,
and as I read in the chat, Maria said that she doesn't like to speak. If you doesn't like to speak,
entonces háganos el favor de enviar sus preguntas y nosotros podemos hacerlas por usted en esta sesión.
Please send us your question and we can make it and answer in this session.
Entonces, por favor, esperamos que realmente su participación cuente y tanto con su persona como con sus preguntas. En el chat les están poniendo el correo electrónico para que no lo olviden.
And also we want that your participation count with the question and also in the chat. You can see the email in the chat where you can ask the questions.
Y como siempre, también los invitamos a que visiten nuestro website. Ahí también se va a poner la información sobre el Town Hall.
And also I refer you to see our website and you will find there information about the Town Hall.
Y bueno, como siempre, los invitamos a participar y mantener la comunicación dentro de sus escuelas.
And as always, we invite you to participate and keep the communication inside your school.
Y pues bueno, muchas gracias, miembros del consejo. Si ya no hay otro punto que tratar o más comentarios del público, muchísimas gracias a todos los que hoy nos acompañaron en esta reunión.
And thank you all the members of the council. If there is no more question, I want to say thank you to everyone who come to be with us in this meeting.
Como siempre, agradecemos al equipo de interpretación, al equipo del Distrito 9, Superintendente Sherman, los electos, los que tienen la principal función aquí, los padres, los principales, los maestros, todos los que nos acompañan. Muchísimas gracias por venir.
And thank you for all your participation from the District 9, Superintendent Sherman, elect people and parents, also teachers and part of the communities that come to us.
Y alguien pregunta el link para firmar asistencia. Recuerden nada más que, por favor, hay un link que les compartieron para que ustedes puedan unirse a la base de datos y les puedan informar sobre posibles reuniones.
I see somebody asking about the link and the attendance. There's a link where you can find information.
Y bueno, creo que de tiempo solo necesitamos una moción para hacer el aplazamiento de la reunión.
And now I want just to ask a motion to this.
No escuché quién dijo.
Motion to close, Maribel.
Okay.
And second, Wanda. Good evening.
Muchísimas gracias a todos. Son 8:19. Cerramos nuestra sesión de CEC Distrito 9. Muchas gracias a todos por su participación.
Thank you to all. It's 8:19 and we now close our meeting for District 19.
Good night.
Good night,
everyone.
Good night. Good night, folks. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Good night.
Buenas noches. Buenas
Gracias.
noches.
Buenas
Good
noches.
night.
Bye. Buenas
Buenas
noches.
Night, thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you.
Buenas noches. Buenas noches.